live as live can be.
All right.
A-live, as they say. No.
I wish I wasn't.
Oh, there it goes. Perfect. So, we just like talking on here. I just like hearing myself at this point in time. My message clearly not being received by anybody.
Not by enough, no.
We need about 1 million new members. Like, let's be real, though. Let's be real. My Wyoming plan would still work.
Wyoming plan.
Where we take, since there's only like 500,000 people that live in Wyoming, we raise a bunch of money. Not me, because I don't have any. And we send 200,000 progressives to live in Wyoming and register to vote. So that we could take their 2 Senate seats.
I don't think there's 200 progressives willing to go to Wyoming. Or 200,000 progressives. Certainly not 200,000.
Just, are you sure?
Almost positive.
All right, I'm gonna start on the audio recording.
All right, let's do it.
Perfect. Hey everybody, welcome to a slightly delayed Sour Source podcast. Had a birthday shindig to get in. There's the audio, as is tradition.
You know, we gotta iron out some technical difficulties every single time. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, why would we?
Welcome to a slightly delayed episode of Sour Source. I know that you guys were waiting on bated breath, like where's the episode?
Where are these guys at?
Where are they at?
You
were losing your minds.
Right-wing militia finally get to them?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. Nobody knows where I'm at.
Yeah.
I stay off the grid. I got a VPN.
Do you really?
No.
I was gonna say.
I do. I have like a free one, but it only has like a 1 gigabyte of like data.
Did you see that like the 5 or 6 most popular or something like that like had a massive data leak?
Oh,
they were all based out of Hong Kong, and turns out they were all spying apps to spy on the.
All the VPNs were the popular ones.
Those 5.
Is it all the ones that were being like advertised on YouTube channels?
Pretty much, yeah. It was like I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, that's the problem with like selling out and like taking ad space and stuff. Is that like part of you is like, fuck it, I just want the money.
Yeah,
but then part of you is like, should I like actually believe in the product that I'm
7 free VPN apps created by Hong Kong-based developer were found leaking personal data of 20 million users worldwide as their service was completely open. Their server was completely open and accessible to third parties.
Okay, well, I wasn't using like a free one. I was using one that had like a paid subscription version.
UFO VPN, Fast VPN, Free VPN, Super VPN, Flash VPN, Secure VPN, and Rabbit VPN.
Yeah, no, I was using a WindScribe.
I don't know then. I don't even. Well, there's some more technicals right there. No, Windows 10. I don't want to restart. I didn't yesterday. I didn't last week, and I'm not ever.
So, yeah, are we into it? What's going on?
Yeah, we're into it. So, where to begin? A lot of crazy.
It's never good.
It's
never good news.
That's why
it's never like, hey guys, welcome to an episode. Here's some awesome things.
Started this podcast to deliver the bad news to you on a weekly subscription-based basis.
Telling you the things that they don't want you to hear.
Yeah, we tell you what you are. Yeah, you know System of a Down, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Have you ever seen the music video for Sugar?
Mm-mm.
There is a little bit at the beginning where it's got a guy, a news anchor type dude, and he's like, I tell you what I want you to know.
Oh,
he's
no.
Like, from 9 to 5, you're mine. Like, it's like real dark.
Right? Well, I mean, you know, not to be like self-aggrandizing or anything like that, but yeah, definitely I think we cover stories that aren't always what you're going to see on like mainstream news, you know?
Somebody asked me the other day, they said, how do I know like anything that anybody posts is true? And I said, I'm the only trusted news source on the internet.
We should copyright that. Sour Source, only trusted news site on the internet.
Your daily dose of sour news.
Some vitamin C for you, baby. Keep you healthy.
Citrate.
But
So okay. So anyway, so DNC voted on a new platform.
oh yeah.
I think that's a fun place to start.
I don't know. Fun's the right word.
Oh, that was one of the things I did want to share. I'm glad we brought that. I'm glad we're starting here because there's some tweets I want to share.
Okay.
Which I'm not gonna. I won't give out the handles. I'm just gonna read what they say, and this is what we're dealing with, people. Okay. So, anyways, so the big two are overwhelmingly voted down: Medicare for all, go figure, and legalization of marijuana.
Yeah, they were voted down by like massive majorities. I think Medicare for all was voted down by more than legalizing marijuana.
I believe you're correct.
Also, there was also a vote on putting conditions on like foreign aid to Israel, which also was voted down by a lot.
Damn, I didn't even see that one.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, there you go. It turns out that the DNC and the RNC don't disagree on a whole lot. Go figure.
As we have long said. Yep, right there. There it is. 2020 Democratic platform betrays Palestinians and gives Israel a pass.
Yeah, no. It's 2020 and we're still supporting apartheid.
I saw a graphic online. It was like a little animated graphic because anything animated gets my attention immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so hard to please. And it was breaking down in like the territory that Israel has occupied like since its inception.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit ignorance on it. I always thought it was just that sliver of land.
Like the Gaza Strip?
And the West Bank specifically that like is the issue.
Mm.
No, it's like a whole country's worth of land. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of land that's been granted to Palestinians by the UN that Israel just does not respect at all. Yeah, this was actually I think I'd brought it up on an earlier stream, which in which Andrew Yang was asked that question. And he was like, well, I'm not going to alienate our one of our allies in the Middle East, by putting like conditions on foreign aid to them. And that was like one of the big turnoffs that I had with Andrew Yang was his ignorance when it came to foreign policy.
Shoot, I'm in his boat. I'm sailing under his ship right now because I didn't realize it either. Like,
no, I told you, yeah, but and we had talked about this in an earlier stream,
Yeah.
in which I asked, like, do you think that this is just ignorance on his part, or is this just his actual belief systems happen to align with sort of like AIPAC, Israeli?
I know they're a big
Sort of.
purchaser of like U.S. munitions and what have you. Like, it's one of their biggest clients and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, I know I brought it up to a little bit a couple streams ago that Israel has been trying to provoke Iran into a war before Donald Trump loses election.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
they know that they'll get the aid from us.
Yeah, because I mean, they know that like Joe Biden is not going to put conditions on him.
Yeah, no, not at all. He'll give them a free pass. Say, have at it.
So that was the sort of thought experiment that I was running through about like what would happen if Trump didn't accept the election results, right? Like, what if he tried to,
Right.
stage a coup and remain in power? And it was like, you think anyone's willing to fight for Donald Trump in like the alternative being Joe Biden? Like, you think anyone's going to like, because Joe Biden is not going to govern that much differently.
Correct.
Like, nobody's willing to lay their lives on the line. Like, the military especially is not going to lay their lives on the line for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have done it if Bernie Sanders was like
Dude,
president.
vets
I think that'd
for
be more of
BLM,
a,
dude.
I think if Bernie Sanders was the nominee, there'd be more of a threat of this, because then you would have the other powers that be also
Right.
throwing
Also
their
throwing.
yeah. But I think
their
that
weight around.
I think most people, even like, although like rich ghouls, like the people that Trump is surrounding him with are not like Trump, are not necessarily Trump sycophants. They're all sort of Republican opportunists who
Right.
are, just trying to protect their moneyed interests in the private sector.
Yep.
They're not willing to like overthrow the government in favor of Donald Trump.
Oh no.
Especially not if the alternative is Joe Biden, who's not really going to be like a roadblock to any of their goals.
Well,
So
the thing with like Joe Biden, I mean, clearly the style we can look forward to is like, I mean, realistically, another Bush 2 kind of.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't even think Donald Trump is as bad as George Bush. As far as like actual like material, like who has caused more harm, I don't think that Donald Trump can compare to George Bush.
Well, I guess I'll give you that. I guess what I'm trying to get
Joe
at
Biden
is
be another Clinton.
This lackadaisical kind of guy who's being kind of controlled. This is one of the things I always thought about Bush too, and this could just be sheer ignorance.
You know, like, George Bush was being controlled by Dick Cheney.
Yeah, and Rumsfeld or Rummyfield or whatever.
But yeah, I don't know if Joe Biden has that kind of like Emperor Palpatine behind him, like pulling the strings. You know,
that's true. That we know of.
Hell, he almost picked Kamala Harris.
Has he picked yet?
No. He was supposed to pick on Saturday, and then there was a leak. A leak came out from Politico that already had like a headline of like, and this came out on July 29th, and it was like on August 1st, Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris to be his vice president, and it had like, you know, it was a leak, but it had a whole story attached to it, and they think that it like the story is it was a mistake. In my opinion, I think that they released it intentionally to kind of gauge public opinion. And when they saw that it was overwhelmingly negative, they decided to delay his pick for VP another week. So he was supposed to release it on Saturday, and instead they decided to delay it another week. So I think it's still up in the air. Although, you know, and this wasn't any sort of like, you know, amazing clairvoyance on my part, but I had called that it was going to be Kamala Harris like 3 streams ago.
Yeah. I think we were in almost universal agreement.
Yeah,
that was her. If it wasn't going to be her, it would have been Klobuchar.
It would have been Klobuchar.
But George Floyd happened.
Yeah. By the way, did you see they released the body cam footage?
Yes.
For that? Yeah,
and it's even worse.
Yeah,
than what we saw before.
Yeah, because then it quells all of the, you know, typical white middle-aged boomer fucking narrative of like, well, we didn't see what happened before. Now we see what happened before, and it's way worse.
Yeah, it's way worse.
It's way worse.
Like the guy, the initial. I don't know. It wasn't Chauvin's body cam was the first one, right? It was the rookie.
Yeah, it was another guy who was on his back, so it wasn't the Asian guy.
No, he was the one stopping. There was Chauvin was on the neck. There was another officer in the middle.
I think it was
the rookie. I think it was the
rookie.
Legs.
I think the rookie was in the middle.
Oh, was he?
I think so.
Okay. All I know is the guy pulls his gun on him within like seconds of
immediately. Yeah. Over $20. $20 is what this man's life was worth to these people. Yeah, it's not good. And I've mentioned how I didn't watch the entire first video just because I didn't want to watch a snuff film, you know, like I knew where it was going. And then by the time I felt like I was ready to see it, it had been taken down from a lot of sites, like the full video. Man. So I wasn't able to, and I didn't feel like searching for it, you know, like going out of my way to like look for it and find it. So then this one came to my attention, and I was like, you know what, I think I owe it to actually watch the full thing this time and really kind of gauge what happened. And man, I would be much more upset if something like this had happened and there weren't protests, you know? Like if people watched a man be slowly murdered on a public street and didn't care, I think that would speak a lot worse than riots ever could.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, like, it's just funny, like, you know, everybody, that's part of the disinformation campaign. They're always like, well, if they quit rioting and looting, like Joe Rogan is especially guilty of this, and it pisses me off. Because, you know, number one, the dude's effectively almost unprincipled, sort of, because he's always like
he's very loose like, with his moral. Like it's whoever his guest is who he is.
Yeah, exactly. But like he always says like, well, if they quit, you know, he uses the boomer line. If they quit rioting and looting, maybe people would listen to him. Which we don't have to break that down because we know that's false. But
yeah.
You know, it's like in Portland, I think the federal troops sort of retreated.
I haven't heard that.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it might have been Atlanta. I don't remember what city.
On the topic of like, if they didn't riot, like people would listen to their message. A police department is under investigation right now because they were training their police dogs to like attack, like, you know, how they train them to attack perpetrators. The perpetrator for this exercise was wearing a Colin Kaepernick jersey.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. So as far as like
them
listening to you, if you protest peacefully, they won't care. They don't care how you protest.
The thing about it is people just don't understand this. It's like, it's not about peaceful protesting anymore. Like, it would be great if that's all it would take, but like,
I don't think it's ever been that.
No,
I think that the narrative is being pushed. That's why people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King are always like presented as these like heroic figures, which they were. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but they both had militant sister movements going on at the same time that arguably accomplished more, but whose accomplishments are not mentioned in the history books alongside. Like, there's a reason that you don't learn about Malcolm X in school the same way you learn about Martin Luther King.
Right.
You know?
Very famous picture of Malcolm X with the M1 carbine in the window. Yeah.
Yeah. Only time NRA ever supported gun control.
Well, the NRA, I listened to a really cool podcast on this. I think it was, is it More Perfect podcast? It's one of I think it's in the Radio Lab Network, but they did a breakdown of like the NRA and gun, like what they've supported over time, and there's like a clear shift, like from like I think it's in the 70s to where they became the right wing platform that they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could find that if anybody's interested.
Here's the thing, though. Philando Castile was a legal gun owner who was murdered by the police.
Much so.
Did you hear a peep out of the NRA?
Nope. Did
you hear a single thing? This is what they talk about all the time, about like how people are coming for your guns. This man was a legal gun owner, and he was shot by the police for being a legal gun owner
for years.
And the NRA said not a word about him.
No, that's because the NRA hasn't stood for actual gun rights in years. They say they do, but what they really are is they're an organization that is used by foreign entities to funnel money into U.S. elections.
Yeah, they're definitely huge lobbyists. I know that much. Like, I didn't know that part. That it was
like Maria. God damn it! What was her name? Maria. She was convicted of being Maria Butina was she was, if you remember this or not, this was from last year around October. She was arrested and charged with spying because she infiltrated the NRA and was like trying to set up links with politicians, and that's what they use to funnel money into campaigns and stuff through the lobby. You know, it's just another bad part of Citizens United, you know, because they can do that. And they can funnel money through these organizations. But the NRA hasn't really cared about gun rights in years. They say they do, but they really don't.
Yeah.
And then talking more to, like, this is why, like, they always use the standard argument. The Democrats want your guns, and the Republicans stand for your gun rights. It's all this, like, to me, this tactful dance they do. It's like they pick these things that effectively have been long decided in society. You know, nobody cares that people care, but nobody cares that people are like respectable gun owners, right? Like those aren't the people they're talking about. Like there's a common consensus amongst everybody. Like certain gun rights don't have to be restricted, but they should be regulated better. Like this is like 80% agreement, or so between both parties. Like they're like, yeah, we could do better. But they use this tactful dance to like just discredit the other side, and that's all it is. It's just theater. It's a play.
Yeah, because the thing is that like the Democrats are not coming for your guns. Well,
except Beto.
Except for Beto O'Rourke, but that was his Hail Mary.
That was that was 1,000% like just an attempt to like get that last little bit. Yeah,
get some relevance because he was just tanking in the polls. Which, you know, didn't do the Democratic Party any favors.
No.
But, and that's kind of like the difficult avenue that I'm at, in that, like, you know, you had those Parkland protesters protesting for stronger gun rights.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I certainly don't blame the parents of anyone who's lost a kid in like Sandy Hook or Parkland or any number of these mass shootings that have gone on. Like, I definitely don't blame them for wanting stronger gun control. But at this tumultuous period in our history, like I really do think that everyone needs to start arming themselves because, the other side is
Yeah.
the fascists. They love their guns.
They absolutely.
So
do.
You could be
made
a
a joke.
well-meaning liberal all you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to protect you against. What's the name of that guy who was just killed in Austin? Who's just you know who I'm talking about, right? But anyway, he was shot with his he was wheeling around his girlfriend, who she's a quadriplegic. Both of them were in the service.
Mm-hmm.
And he someone drove into the crowd of protesters,
Of course.
and then shot him. He was open carrying an AK, but that's legal in Texas.
Right.
And the guy in the car drove into the protesters and then shot him. And
Interesting.
So
I know the big one is this.
do you know his name? Did you look it up?
Garrett Foster.
Garrett Foster. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I try to look this stuff up as we go.
No worries.
But
yeah,
then he was shot dead.
So and then there was another guy. I don't remember what protest this was, but he had showed up. He was a member of the Proud Boys, and he slapped a woman in the face at a rally, and so everyone just started beating him up, and he ran away and then shot somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's these guys are armed, and if this, and not even just these freelancers who are doing it just on their own volition, but the Fed agents that are showing up and kidnapping people and.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these police departments that are firing,
there was one
hitting people in the face with rubber
another
bullets
one
and shit.
too that'll just ruin your day. Did you see? I think it's a California department, could be Arizona, but they are being investigated now by the FBI for what's called badge bending and a culture of badge bending. You ever heard of this? So apparently they have this thing going on where when you shoot and kill somebody, you put a bend into your badge, and that's how they know who's it's
who's a badass.
Yeah, who's a badass. Who's racking up points. California. 14 of the 51 current and former officers involved in shootings since 2000s have had their badges bent by a something.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, right.
Cool stuff.
Oh, by a
guys.
colleague after a fatal shooting.
Cool stuff, guys. The police are keeping tallies on who kills the most people. As a badge of honor. That's cool. That's a cool thing that's going on. It's crazy. The more you learn about the police, the more egregious it becomes, it's crazy. They are very literally a death squad.
The guy who killed the dude in the Arizona motel.
Oh shit, yeah. Daniel Schaefer.
Daniel Schaefer.
Yeah.
The officer that shot him, Shaver, was just brought back into service or something.
Oh, so he got his job back.
Let me look this up because I could be wrong on that. But either way, he got a $30K pension per year for PTSD.
Yeah. And he's carrying around a fucking gun that said "you're fucked" on the side, and then.
Do you know the reasoning why they didn't allow that to be admitted into court?
Mm-mm.
Because it would have swayed the jury.
Oh, you think? You think that it would have swayed the jury to learn that this guy was begging, was just itching for a reason to kill somebody? You watch that video, man, and that
one's one of the more.
That's one of the worst ones.
It is.
Because he is just Daniel's so goddamn scared. He's being told to play this Simon Says game for his life.
Mm-hmm. Cross your legs and crawl towards me.
Yeah, where it's just you could have told him to cross your legs and turn around and I'll walk to you, You didn't have to make this man crawl on his hands and knees. It was the weirdest thing.
Because I was talking to people when it happened, and of course, a lot of people that I talk to, shouldn't have been doing anything wrong. He wasn't.
He wasn't though.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
That's the thing.
He
try to argue with these guys, and you're they always have something stupid to say, and it's
he was literally not doing it. He had a pellet gun because he was an exterminator.
Correct.
And the hotel was like, "Hey, could you check up on this?" And They killed him.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Of
crazy.
which open carrying is legal. And,
But
like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Another one too. The dude, my video feed has been flooded with videos of like the first response of police officers is like gun out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay.
You watched the George Floyd body cam footage.
Yeah, yeah.
They, like, you see him talking to the I think it was a restaurant, right, or something.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, he gave me like this bill. It's not real." They roll up to his car, gun out, like for a $20 bill. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nutty. The whole thing was nutty.
Yeah. And then I saw another story making the rounds on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it, but basically this woman in Minneapolis, I believe, her boyfriend was having a seizure, like a diabetic seizure.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called 911 to, like, get somebody to come over there and inject him with some glucose. And they roll up and he's seizing, and he's like a big dude. He's like 6'5" or something. And so they call in the firefighters to like restrain him while he's having a seizure. And then the police like come into the house and they're like, "Hey, inject him with ketamine." And they ordered a fatal dose of
real
ketamine.
quick, I have to throw this out because this one's always bugged me because Elijah McCain was killed by a ridiculous dose of ketamine.
Yeah, ketamine that is fatal to someone 3 times his size. Yeah. And that's the only reason this man survived.
Where along the standard police equipment issue did they say, like, we're just going to give you some syringes of ketamine? Like when did that become a thing?
I don't know.
Why do they have it?
I'm probably as like a tranquilizer, like as
it's like some.
Well, it
like,
is a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah, it's horse trank. I have a friend who died from it.
Yeah, probably because of that. Probably because like they've been able to convince them that it's like this is a way to subdue somebody non-lethally. We inject them with a trank. Like, haven't you seen cartoons?
I was just about to say, it's like some sick like cartoon, like Looney Tunes
yeah,
shit where they have
like,
tranquilizer guns. Like,
I think that's it.
Well, why don't they just give them a trank gun? Like, you
like,
wanted
like
the Bolo
Dwight
launcher.
in The Office,
yeah. Like every comedy movie in the last 50 years.
Like Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's not light.
Let me tell you, the problem with that is it would be that they would shoot once, hit you, and then hit you like 20 more times with the darts.
Yeah, they've done it with guns. Yeah. Why the fuck wouldn't they do it with darts?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is nutty. I did see the one you're talking about though. It's just a repeat to me of like the case that started it all. I think it's Graham, South Carolina in the 70s, maybe early 80s, where the police just beat the shit out of a diabetic guy going into a diabetic seizure, and then they have I told you, do you know about this case?
I don't.
So this was like one of the first times. This is like, I think if I remember correctly, I'll try to do this quick before this segment ends. This was like the first time in United States history where the Supreme Court decided what they call the reasonable officer standard. Like, what would a reasonable cop do at this point in time? Mm-hmm. So long story short, is a black gentleman, of course, in South Carolina. Could be North Carolina. So if I'm getting this wrong, I'll tell you the basic gist here.
Sure.
They go to a convenience store because the guy knows he's diabetic and he knows his blood sugar is getting low and he needs something to go. Now, this was before cell phones and, all that stuff. So this is, antiquity in terms of U.S. years.
Sure.
So they go to a convenience store and he gets out and he goes inside and he grabs like a little quart of juice or whatever and he's standing in line. It's a fairly long line. People got to use cash or checks. There's no cards and none of that. So eventually he starts kind of stumbling around and it's taking too long because his blood sugar is about to drop significantly and he either gets something or he passes out. So he puts the juice on the counter and he goes back outside because it's taking too long. At that point, the store calls the police and says, "Hey, this guy was acting suspicious in here. They're in a white car, and the police pull him over down the road, and the guy is in a stupor because his blood sugar's so low. He gets out of the car during the traffic stop to try to kind of tell the police like what's happening, like, hey, I'm diabetic and I need sugar like now. and he has a card in his wallet, and the officer gets out and he's like, hey, get back in your car, and he can't respond at this point in time because he's going into a coma. Like,
Yeah.
so he sits down behind the car, and that's when the officer calls for backup. Like four officers show up, and between then, at that point, they beat they arrest him for something, for whatever reason they come up with. They beat the crap out of him, and then they drive him home to his house, and they throw him in the yard and leave him there. And like it turns out the injury, like his dad comes out and sees the injuries. He's got like a broken hand, broken ribs, like he's just beat up, like they beat the crap out of him. And then long story short term now, he recovers. Then they sue the police department. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court says, no, we're not going to overturn this, because that's what a reasonable police officer would do in this situation.
Yeah.
And that's where they determine that standard, like what would a reasonable cop do at this point in time.
Everything up to and including murder.
Which would make sense if the people who became officers were reasonable.
Yeah. And hell, even if you are reasonable, you get fired. So
yeah. I had one graphic I was going to bring up here before we reach the first interlude.
Yeah, we can bring it up after the break.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find it real quick because it's about a good cop. All right, we'll be back. I'm going to try to find this one because this one was really good, because this one will blow your mind if you haven't seen it. Ooh, this is a fun article. Half of fired police officers get their jobs back through arbitration.
Yeah. Oh, two of the cops who were there when George Floyd was murdered have applied for appeals.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Is it this one?
3 of them are out on bail. Derek Chauvin's the only one that's still in jail right now.
This is not the one that I had earlier, but this is a good one too to get into. That's got to process and upload, as they say.
As they say.
As they say.
As they say. Ray Lewis, the football player?
That's what I thought when I read that too. I was like, really?
Didn't Ray Lewis murder somebody?
No. Yes, no.
He did.
I thought he beat his.
He beat his case, but he for sure did
he beat
it.
his girlfriend or something in the.
No. That's Ray Rice.
Oh.
Also played for the Ravens. So I can see the.
I'm not stereotyping.
The confusion. But no, Ray Lewis.
Murder trial.
Yeah, he had a murder trial.
Let's see here.
And he for sure did that shit.
His companions, and another resulting in the stabbing deaths of Jacinth Baker and Richard Lawler. Interesting. This is an interesting. This has nothing to do with football players and murder, but this is something I just thought of because I used to be one of those people. Well, let me start with this question: are you one of those people who like it blows, baffles you why football players get paid millions of dollars?
No, I get it. I mean, football brings in millions of dollars.
So I used to be one of those guys. I was like, why are they paying them guys so much money just to play a game, right? I have since changed my tune once I learned how much money the organizations make.
Yeah, no, it's
like when Dallas is like a $10 billion a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with that guy getting $50 million or whatever,
Yeah,
He deserves more because he's at the very minimum generating 50% of the business partnership.
So that's the sort of divide when it comes to like eating the rich, Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? I don't think that musicians or artists or athletes count as the rich because they're still workers. They're still laborers. Now their labor gets them pretty penny, but they're not
Sometimes.
they're not the rich.
No, but
You know?
I get it though, because like that's kind of where like I think the libertarian argument is not really libertarian, but I have a libertarian friend who always says this, so this is why I'm saying that. I think that's where like the argument always comes in, like they're generating a product that nobody else can, and they deserve to be rewarded for that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can understand that, because like they always use like, well, does Bill Gates deserve his billions of dollars for creating Microsoft?
No.
And it's like, yeah, right. Bill Gates deserves a portion for creating the product,
but his factories are all generated by slave labor, and not only that, but like in the inception of Microsoft, he was doing like these shady things like software deals where like certain features would only be available on the PC. And so he basically just like bought out all these software producers, like offered them incentives, and pretty much boxed out the competition.
Well, that's been the shtick for all these major tech companies since tech companies became a thing. Like Facebook's done it at least 19,000 times. They buy out every minor competitor that shows up. Amazon
effectively been creating monopolies.
Yeah. Government-sponsored monopolies have always been a problem in the country. Nobody likes to talk about it. It's one of my big things, specifically public utilities.
Oh, yeah. So they, your internet provider had a deal with your region.
There was an article.
The infrastructure was all put in through, public funding.
AT&T has taken like $400 billion in tax dollars to create a fiber network that they're just now getting started on.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the power companies and water companies.
The power company was the one I was going to bring up, because the one around here, if you didn't know this, got sold to KCPL.
Yeah, I worked for them. You didn't know that?
Yeah, I guess you did.
I worked for Evergy, and then I worked for Westar, and then I was there for the merger, Westar and Evergy.
And there was an article that came out that flew under the radar, and I remember talking to a bunch of people about it. I was like, this is why you should be worried about this monopolizing of this crap, because the investors they do this thing. Investors put out like this like warning statement. They're like, if you don't drive revenue up, we're gonna pull investment money out or some shit like that, which is what it's like code for make your stock worth more and start charging more, or else like. And then, sure enough, a couple months later, they announced like some new green fee or some bullshit like that.
Yeah. So like, what are your options?
There are none.
You only have the one.
Yeah, you have one. You have one.
You have one electric company.
There's your free market that they rail for all the time.
It's MLK said it, man. It's socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor.
Correct. So anyway, yeah, that's the gist of that one.
Yeah.
Trial though. So if that's what they come up with, a reasonable cop standard. So I wanted to share this one here. Let me get back to it real fast because we got on. For you people who like the YouTube vids, check out our YouTube videos as they come up, because in between these segments we do exclusive conversations,
little chats that go on in between.
Tidbits. Yeah, we had a chat about I keep saying Chad. We had a chat about football players and why I think they deserve to get paid millions of dollars. So
yeah, I didn't disagree. And then sort of the monopoly of public utilities.
So this isn't. I did want to read this little image here. I realized what I said. No, this is one of those like the good cops don't exist memes that have been going around. Yeah. This isn't the one that I wanted to show because I don't know where I found it, but this one says Officer Brad Mick was fired after he crossed the blue line and filed charges against his city's mayor, the current police chief, and the former police chief. Officer Mick discovered forgery crimes in his department, obtained a warrant, and raided his own department. He is now fighting to save his job by filing for whistleblower protection. This is what happens when the good apples try to get rid of the bad apples.
Yeah, you don't cross the thin blue line, man. Same thing that happened to Chris Dorner.
Yeah. Got a whole thing. Apparently Ray Lewis as well.
That's not the football player.
That's what got us started on our in-between conversations. I have another graphic here with some names and what happened. Kurt Stansbury fired for exposing corruption. Ray Lewis, not the player, arrested for protesting corruption. Shanna Lopez fired for reporting a cop who was a predator, which doesn't surprise me any, because as we have discussed in previous streams, it is legal for cops to rape you in several states. Cariel Horn fired for stopping an incident of police abuse. Andrea Heath driven to suicide for being a whistleblower. Joe Crystal fired for turning in fellow cops for brutality. Regina Tasca fired for stopping an incident of abuse. Laura Schnook fired for exposing corruption.
Yeah.
There you go. What's this guy right here? Meet Officer Mark Morgan. When a fellow officer attempted to arrest a man for holding up a sign that said "Fuck bad cops," Officer Morgan upheld his oath to the Constitution by stepping in and preventing his coworker from further violating the man's rights. Oh, I saw that video. I did see that. Did you ever see that one?
I did not, no.
Yeah, that was in front of a hotel.
Oh, okay.
And the one cop was all pissy because he's like, "This is private property, and they can't be here."
Mm-hmm.
And then he was trying to like tase them or arrest them, and the other cop showed up, and I think he was the sergeant at the in their department. And he's like, "No, these guys are fine. Get out of here."
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah. He'll probably get fired in the near future. So we started out the podcast too. I did want to go back to this. Was we were talking about the DNC votes.
Yeah,
it's all bad. Everything's terrible.
Well, the DNC. Voted against legalizing marijuana.
Yeah, I think that
pull
ties
up those
in.
numbers, though. You wanted to pull up those numbers.
Yeah, I did. I actually did pull it up, and then I had to look something else up.
But anyway, Joe Kennedy III, who's running against Ed Markey.
Yeah.
Even though, and this is for Massachusetts, and he had come out against legalizing marijuana, even though the state has legalized marijuana. Mm-hmm. But he has come out against legalizing it federally. I don't know why this is the hill he chose to die on. But Joe Kennedy is like, he said that if you make marijuana legal, then it's no longer probable cause for the police to search your vehicle if they smell marijuana. So it all kind of bleeds into each other, you know?
Yeah, it does. He kind of exposed, like, it's kind of what we all knew existed, like the pipeline to prison that exists, or the probable cause that they use to like commit constitutional violations.
Yeah.
Because like, how many times have you seen a video where they're like, "Can you step out of the car?" And they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "I smell marijuana." I actually had a coworker who used to work for another driving company. And this driving company, this gentleman no longer works with me, but he told me this story because there's this highway that I drive on. There, people are always getting roadsided, and mm-hmm. Do you know about how that works? DOT.
No.
So the highway patrol in most states can pull, if not all, can pull over a DOT truck at any time for an inspection.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
And I'm not saying this has anything to do with it, but I would take the odds that it does. But my former coworker, he is black, mm-hmm. and he got pulled over twice by the same trooper within I think he told me like a very short amount of time for each other. Yeah. And the second one, he's like, "It smells like marijuana in your truck." And he's mm-hmm. like, "I deliver uniforms. Like, they might smell. You're probably smelling BO." Yeah. He's like, and then it turned into a big thing about it. And I don't think anything happened to him, but like, it just like reminded me of that story.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've personally seen that happen before. When I was doing contracting in California, we were in Northern California, which is almost like, might as well be the South. People have Southern accents out there for some reason. And we'd have to go, because we were clearing dead trees from power lines so that they didn't mm-hmm. like strike them and start forest fires and stuff. And there was a crew from Florida that was made up entirely of black dudes, and we were working next to them. And yeah, a dude literally came out with a gun and told them to like get off his property. They didn't approach me and my crew. You know, my crew had two blonde-haired, blue-eyed dudes, and me, who is vaguely ethnic, but
that's the name of my new jazz rock band.
Vaguely ethnic.
Vaguely ethnic.
And yeah, he chased them off the property. He didn't chase us off the property, but whatever. And then when I was working in Colorado, my foreman was a black dude who also was accused of being suspicious when we were literally hired to do tree work on this guy's yard, and his neighbor threatened to call the cops on us if we didn't leave. I mean, that shit's real, bro.
I had a situation one time when I was but a youth. I went over to a friend's house, and I was banging on his door, and I was like, "Hey, dude, open the door." I called him, and he's like, just jump the fence and come in the back door. Back door's unlocked." So I did. About 20 minutes later, police officers show up. Like, we got a call that somebody was breaking into the house. I was like, damn, I know I'm Mexican, but geez.
Yeah, no, it's real out there, baby.
The DNC vote was 50 to 104.
Was this for Medicare for all?
This is legalization of marijuana.
Oh, yeah, of course. And that...
50 to 106.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that goes to... I guess, what do you think would be, if you could do anything, like if you had the ability to fix one thing about our country, what would it be?
To fix one thing.
You had the opportunity to get one legislation passed, what would it be?
Oh, God damn. There's so many.
I know. Because I was thinking about this earlier.
This is like the modern railroad experiment.
Well, Bernie Sanders was asked this question, I think in 2016.
I feel
and his
like
answer was Medicare for all.
I was going to say I'm leaning towards Medicare for all, but I'm trying to be objective because I would say that mine is more personal.
Okay.
Because I really want healthcare.
Yeah. Do you not get healthcare?
I mean, I do, but I really don't. I mean, a $1,200 deductible at 80/20.
Yeah.
Actually, it's $2,700 because I have family plan.
Yeah.
And then 80/20 after that. That re-rolls every year, so I don't go to the doctor that much because it costs me, which might not sound like a lot, and I can afford it. I just don't like paying it.
Yeah.
It's like $112 to do a doctor's visit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I feel so like so I'm trying to be objective and try to think like.
No, I mean that's not a bad answer. Medicare for all is obviously not a bad answer, but I was thinking more along the lines of just making our elections more transparent, like overturning Citizens United or something like that.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm trying to think what would be the best, right?
Because when you think about it, like look at the DNC's vote right now on legalizing marijuana.
Correct.
Nationally, that position is wildly popular. Mm-hmm. Like you're talking, I'm thinking even like 70%.
I think it's like 80.
It might even be 80.
Legalize marijuana, yeah.
And yet the DNC, who's the party that's more friendly to the idea than the Republicans, still voted it down 150. Like they're not representative of the people.
Correct.
Medicare for all has like a 70-something% approval rate among Democrats, has like a 60% approval rate among independents, and even has a 51% approval rate among Republicans. And yet they voted that down massively too. Like there is something wrong with our elections where we have these people representing or who are supposed to be representing us who do not represent what we want.
Do you remember Yang and his platform when he had the democracy dollars deal?
No.
Did you remember that? It was like it was a federal fund or something like that. And if I remember correctly, like every year you would be given democracy dollars that you could then donate to the candidate of your choice. Okay. But that's all you could donate across the board. So it's like a kind of a version of publicly funded elections.
Okay, but the people got to choose who got the most funding.
It's kind of like a HSA sort of. They give you a certificate and then you send it to where you want it to go.
I'd never heard of this. No.
Yeah, I think he called it democracy dollars.
Okay.
That was kind of one of the more unique ones he had that didn't get a lot of plays.
Yeah,
on the radio.
There's a few things you would have to do. I mean, get rid of Citizens United for sure.
Yeah, that's a big one.
For those of you who don't know, Citizens United basically eliminated the cap on what someone was allowed to donate to a politician's campaign.
It allowed corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money. That's the big
it got rid of the cap because it used to be like a $2,500 cap or something like that. And it got rid of that. So basically, just made bribery completely legal.
It's what allowed the formation of like super PACs and Jesus, that was loud.
We'd have to get something too along the lines of like curving sort of gerrymandering of districts, and we would have to get rid of the electoral college.
Electoral college should definitely go away.
We have to get rid of that because there's a good video on YouTube that showed how a candidate could win the presidency with only 11% of the vote.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, however unlikely it would have been for them to win all the states.
Unlikely scenario.
But the fact that even exists as a possibility of like a team could score 89 points and another team could score 11 points and that 11-point team could win still.
This is how
like nobody
know.
would be like that's a good
No.
system.
There was a good infographic that goes around. Easy digestible bits of information is what our society runs on.
Mm-hmm.
But it has it's like, have you ever seen it? It's like the grid of it's got 10 red squares and 10 blue squares, and it's like ideally in a perfect way, like it would be split down the middle equally.
Okay.
But gerrymandering allows them to tweak it so where you end up with 6 of one and 4 of the other, something like that. I think
so. Yeah, we'd have to get we have to do something to make our elections more fair and more transparent, because look at the way that they do not represent our interests. They do not want to legalize marijuana despite it being overwhelmingly popular.
Our country is effectively an oligarchy. We are and they're pitting us against each other. And this is actually, I'm going to segue into a conversation I had with another coworker, because I actually did not fight this one. I just let it go, because I knew this is the kind of person that you're not gonna beat in an argument no matter what. Mm-hmm. But anyways, this is where people will be like, there's one ruling party. There are two parties in the United States: a conservative party and a very conservative party.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's no opposition at all. So anyways, I had this conversation with a coworker of mine where we were talking about the presidency, and he said, I don't want Joe Biden to win. And I said, well, why not? Just out of curiosity. And he's like, because he's a socialist. And I was like, I can guarantee. I said, I guarantee you he is not.
I wish.
He's like, oh, he is. He's going to take more money out of my paycheck. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not going to beat you on this one.
Well, that's the reason that I think Donald Trump's campaign is failing, is that he's not attacking Joe Biden for the things that he could be attacked on, like supporting the Iraq War and things like that. Because this is what he did against Hillary Clinton, was that she's the establishment. Look at these bad trade deals she supported. She supported the war in Iraq. Yeah, he ran all of this stuff. He ran as an outsider. Whereas he could still do that to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is Hillary Clinton. But instead he's choosing to instead paint Joe Biden as some sort of radical leftist, which the notion is laughable.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
The thing about it is the middle portion of the country believes it.
I don't think they do. That's why Joe Biden is shellacking him in the polls, man.
That's true. I don't trust the polls, but
and I don't, to a certain extent, just because it was all saying that Hillary was going to win and she lost, but the polls weren't necessarily inaccurate. She still won as far as what within the parameters that they were setting.
Listen to this real quick. Sorry, I typed "I don't trust the" into my Google bar. And these are the top 5. I don't trust the CDC. I don't trust the media. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the news. I don't trust the WHO. Yeah. The last 4 are police, census, FDA, and COVID test.
Neat.
Yeah, and that's something fun there. That's Google for you. That's algorithm.
Yeah, but so this idea is going to fail, as painting Joe Biden as a crazy socialist. So
this has been one of the things I've said since Joe Biden took the nomination. Yeah. And it was my theory as to why they were so quick to throw a stimulus idea out, how the Republicans did it first. Mm-hmm. And I said they were trying to set him up to out-left the left, which is really the center. Mm-hmm. But that's really the point. Is they're trying to set, but he won't do it. He's not doing it this time. He's not utilizing any of the tactics he used in 2016. He's not saying your healthcare sucks and I'm gonna fix your healthcare. He's not using the same messaging that he did before.
He did absolutely not fix healthcare. No. That's why he couldn't do that, because what happened? 7 million people lost their healthcare under Trump before COVID hit. Now it's up to 34,000 or 34 million, I should say.
Yeah, it's bad. 20 million, I think.
Dude, he mishandled this so badly.
Oh yeah, and he's trying to play it off. Did you see his press conference today? He did a press conference today. I watched 5 minutes of it, and I had to shut it off. I couldn't do it. He's like, cases are up across the world. We know that lockdowns don't prevent the virus. He's like, everybody's up.
Yeah, talk to New Zealand about that, man.
Talk Japan.
Japan never locked down.
No, they didn't. You're right. They all wear masks.
They wore masks. Japan has 10 times the population density of the U.S., and yet they have 1/100th of the cases of the U.S. I guess masks fucking work, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do. And culturally, they wear masks anyways.
Yeah.
They,
Which is why, but that's why they're significantly less hit by anything, by the flu, by COVID, and
everybody's forgetting. Remember, Trump's administration lied about the masks at the very beginning.
They did.
They knew, leaked documents, I think, showed that they knew that masks prevent the spread.
well, they didn't want people buying all of the N95s because they wanted those reserved for healthcare professionals.
Okay, so I get that,
but instead of saying that though, instead of just being like, "Hey, please don't buy these because like we need them for healthcare," instead they lied and said they weren't effective, and that's why they've obfuscated everything. Like now it's like, who do you even trust? But it's like, but we know that they work. And then he said it was a hoax up until like deep into like April, May. Like he was faking and he was saying that it was a hoax the whole time. And then he comes out and he's like, I knew it was a virus before anyone else did. I knew it was serious.
It just goes to what we were talking about. Like any of these conspiracies they use to say just shows how poorly equipped where we are for.
Yeah, and then he's pulling out of the hoop. It's like, I don't know.
So I get the idea, I guess, that somebody should be holding, like China should be accepting some responsibility, right? Like their cover up,
sure,
similar to what we did here, covering it all up and pretending like it's not a thing, kind of led to the worldwide situation.
Sure.
But that's something that, number one, is only ever going to happen when you have total worldwide cooperation, which we don't, so we can just throw that out. So, I get that idea, but then why would you pull out of the World Health Organization? Like,
because they disagree with him.
Yeah, but then, like...
That's really it.
And then, like, even, like, was it Joe Biden in the primaries was like, universal health care doesn't work, or something like that. And then Italy has universal healthcare, and they were one of the hardest hit countries, and they sent us like 1 million test kits because we weren't producing any.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that, but I know that he was saying that, like, people were asking him like, hey, we're in the middle of a global health pandemic, like, should people are losing their jobs and their healthcare is tied to their jobs, they're losing healthcare in the middle of a pandemic, like, should we have some form of single payer healthcare? And he was like, no, it's not going to work. That's my Joe Biden. It's not as good as my Trump.
March 18, 2020, U.S. Air Force quietly flew 500,000 swabs for the COVID-19 kits from Italy to Memphis, Tennessee.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Another one, too. What was I going to bring up about universal healthcare? Oh, yeah. Let's see. They voted it down in the DNC. Have we said that on this podcast today?
Yeah, we've mentioned that.
So that, they care more about protecting their insurance CEOs and their stock prices.
Yeah, did you see how stocks jumped when Bernie announced that he was suspending his campaign? The stocks for all these private insurance companies jumped up.
$50 billion.
So, maybe, maybe things like healthcare shouldn't be for profit.
Did you see, so Kodak, the camera company?
Yeah.
Apparently, they got some kind of government contract to produce something related to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly what. I can look that up real quick to see what the scoop on that is. Either way, the CEO of them got appointed to somewhere in Trump's cabinet position, and like the day before they announced this deal, like, the stock price of Kodak went sky high because people started buying it like crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who's doing, right here. Winning a bid to make drugs for coronavirus. Kodak shares jumped 2,441%.
The
camera company
gonna be making drugs. All right.
It's truly a Kodak moment in history. Company's value climbed to $1.99 billion, closing just after closing the previous day at $100 million. So there you go. Yeah, they're going to supply hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there you go. The camera company is making your COVID
drugs.
Did
you see that controversy with that doctor?
Oh, yeah.
That they were posting about, and it turned out she was like
she's a crazy
she was actually
person.
crazy.
Yeah.
She was like talking about like if you've ever had sex in your dreams, then you were raped by a demon.
Yeah.
And like
Dr. Stella Emanuel.
Just crazy stuff, man. And it's funny that they will do anything they can to discredit like Fauci or just any other doctor.
Anybody.
And then like prop this woman up as like the foremost authority on the topic when in actuality she's like a crazy person.
Yeah, certified crazy person.
And hey, I don't think we talked about it, but Herman Cain died.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And Bill Montgomery, co-founder of Turning Point USA.
If only it was Charlie Kirk. But yeah, they go around and they talk about how like COVID's a hoax and masks are like bullshit and all this stuff, and then hey, they both died. And I wonder if that's going to change anyone's minds. It's probably not.
It won't.
No.
They didn't. They'll use one of the myriad of conspiracy theories that they have.
Yeah, no, there was a post on like a right wing news page that was like a RIP to Herman Cain, and all of the comments were like, "I don't think it was COVID.
Yep.
I don't think it was COVID. He was old. He was already sick. I don't think it was COVID.
If anybody dies, they're putting COVID on it. It doesn't matter. Medicare's paying them to promote COVID cases.
Yeah, how did Herman Cain die then, bro?
He was just old.
Herman Cain, fuck Herman Cain. And fuck. What's his name? Brian Montgomery, Bill Montgomery. What is his name? Turning Points USA guy.
Bill
fuck that guy. I hope hell exists so that he's burning in it. I don't give a fuck. Fuck that. No,
there was a.
You look at all of their posts from their Twitter that they took down retroactively after he died. They took down all of the anti-masker bullshit memes. But they have led to the. Why do we let this shit go, man? What are we up to right now? How many 100,000? 150,000?
154, I think.
154,000 people are dead. Fucking needlessly. Literally needlessly, because these people were spreading misinformation for what? To win some bullshit culture war against the fucking libs.
Did you see Kushner and his plan to let COVID ravage Democratic states?
No, I didn't see that.
So, as you may or may not be aware, Jared Kushner is a senior advisor.
Yeah, for no reason.
It's nepotism. Because
he's banging Donald Trump's crush.
Let's see here. I'm going to read you the exact articles. I don't want to get this wrong.
Oh, by the way, Donald Trump's crush is his daughter. That was the joke.
Oh, yeah. 100% creeper. Here it is right here. This was 3 days ago. This is Business Insider. This is my source. Kushner's coronavirus team shied away from national strategy, believing the virus was hitting Democratic states hit the hardest and they could blame the governors.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a crime against humanity.
That's neat.
That is textbook crime against humanity.
I mean, the problem is that, it would hit Democrat states harder because they have more population densities. Because they're cities. They're not the fucking empty masses of land that exist in the middle of the country that vote Republican because they're 20 years behind everybody else.
People always want to be like, why can't we just come together and why can't we unite? And this is kind of tie into what you were saying too. And this is what I was getting at last time. Like, when are we gonna go into like a more harder tone shift against these guys?
Just bully these fucking idiots.
Because like, there's a candidate, and I believe I know this guy. He's running for the state representative house here in Kansas, and he's primarying against another Democrat. And I didn't recognize the name at first, but I realized who it was after an article came out where he had said what you just said. Like, he was glad Herman Cain died, and that there's a conservative news host down in Wichita that he's like, I hope he gets it too. Yeah. And like now all the Democrats on the Facebook feed that I was in were like, oh, this is not the person we want representing us, or this means he's not ready to be in. They were just really digging into him,
distancing himself. He's right though. He's 100% right.
I was kind of like, this is what I'm talking about. This is that tone shift. Like, these motherfuckers, I'm gonna get deep here, are responsible. And that's proof right there for number one, crimes against humanity, children in cages. Number two, just fucking every horrible thing that you can imagine. Just fucking throw a dart at a dartboard of fucking evil atrocities and take your fucking pick. Yeah. And they're not in jail, and they're never gonna be.
No.
And this is my point here. Like, when are we, whether it's progressives, even liberals, when are we gonna just hit them back? Like, what are we? What like?
And just be like, no, these people are fucking monsters.
Yeah, no, you're a
like,
fucking terrible person.
There's
Just like
it doesn't
it baffles me. Like,
they're sociopaths. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that it doesn't fucking bother them. How many times do you have to explain to somebody that like wearing a mask is the bare minimum effort you can do
yeah,
in the midst of a fucking pandemic, and yet they refuse to fucking do it. They will not do it. You know?
yeah.
Like Black Lives Matter is not a fucking controversial phrase.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Like, black people's lives exist. Like, they deserve life just as much as anyone else. And you can explain it to them 50 million fucking ways. Like, they've heard it before. They had to have.
Oh,
like,
1000%.
they've heard it before. They are choosing to not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Like, these are choices that they are making. They are actively like, nah, fuck it, we're evil. I don't give a fuck.
Like here's one. I wanted to share this tweets here. So this is what somebody tweeted. I think it was on a Joe Biden related tweet thread. And like I said, I'm not going to throw any handles out because, nobody needs to get doxxed or anything. But so burners want power so that right-thinking people can then dictate. That's what they replied there to the original comment. And then they said Harris is more progressive than Sanders. If the Dems wanted Sanders, he'd have the nom. He does not. The people chose Biden. If Bernie bros actually want progressive change, they'll back Harris. But their full record is actually attacking women. This is not for the bros and for this dude. This is not about progressive politics. It's about maintaining the patriarchy and white supremacy.
Oh, is this some fucking lib on some Bernie bro shit?
Yep.
Fuck that. Yeah, dude, fuck them. And then there's the same thing that they're doing with back to like the Ed Markey, John Kennedy thing, is that they're trying to portray Ed Markey as a bully too, because they have this fucking. There's a study done that showed that like Bernie supporters are not any more toxic than any other political supporter.
Mm-hmm.
I've been called, and this is, I don't mean to use the R word. I've been called a fucking retard by a Biden supporter for supporting Bernie Sanders in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was like, dude, like, this is before he dropped out. I was like, I'm absolutely voting for Bernie. I'm probably not going to vote for Biden if he gets a nominee. I got called a fucking retard by a Biden supporter. Like, they're fucking toxic too. Everyone is toxic to their.
I have long said that the biggest takeaway from this primary is the Democratic Party literally had a slam dunk chance to prove that it was better than the Republicans, and they didn't.
No,
they
worked against it. And you know who else did? Obama did that shit.
Obama. That is correct. It's just like the same old argument that I tell people. I'm like, you should love Nancy Pelosi. She's on your side.
Yeah. She'll rip up Donald Trump's speech, but she'll give him fucking more money for his military budget
to blow up little kids in fucking Libya.
Yeah, give him more money than he asked for.
Yemen. Like, again, throw a dart at the dartboard and it'll be whatever country you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like one of the fucking 9 proxy wars that we're funding.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, it's because it's like, dude, am I the only fucking like it's like I said, am I living on the same fucking planet as you guys?
It drives you crazy.
Like, this idea that like, fuck it, a million, innocent people were killed in Iraq. Fuck it. Like, I don't know if there's an argument to be made that like a sane person wouldn't attempt a coup. Like, I don't think.
Like,
I think
does anybody else see it?
Like, is anybody else paying a fucking attention to this shit? How much he missed? Like, and this isn't Donald Trump specifically. This is just the decades of politics that have been going on for the past 40 fucking years.
Yeah, it started with
Bill Clinton deregulated the banks and like did the 100-to-1 cocaine policy.
Yeah, Bill Clinton
like, he was bad too.
More conservative than HW. Like,
and then W comes in, fucking botches Hurricane Katrina, fucking starts the war in Iraq. Obama comes in, expands the drone program. And Trump comes in and fucking on his first military action bombs an American girl who's in the Middle East visiting her family and fucking kills her on his very first military strike. Is there any? And he's not gonna. None of these people are gonna get in trouble for this shit. Like, George Bush is hanging out with Ellen at fucking football games.
Todd,
like,
there's
being buddies.
There's an interesting turn of events. The whole Ellen debacle. We were talking in between before we started about like Shahid Buter's
yeah,
campaign.
let's get into that. Shahid Buttar.
You want to do it on the next bit? Okay.
Yeah, because I think
we
that's
should talk about Ellen
something
too.
That's something worth talking about. I know Ellen's a piece of shit.
Doesn't matter who you are, what group you subscribe to, whatever. If you're a billionaire, you're automatically an asshole.
Is Ellen a billionaire?
I believe so.
I don't think so. I know she's garbage though. Like apparently she's a fucking bitch on
she's
set.
330 million. She's a third of the way there.
Yeah, she's the bitch on set. I've heard though.
Yeah, 490 million according to this one. So yeah, there you go.
Nah, she sucks.
Either rich.
Yeah, she's all hanging out with George Bush, and then like when she got called out on it, she was like, "Look, I think that I could be friends with someone even if we have a disagreement." It's like he's a war criminal.
I think
he was torturing people.
That's
he
like
killed
saying
people.
like I think, you know, could I sit down and have a beer with George Bush if I was completely ignorant of everything he did? Probably.
Yeah, maybe if I never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
But it's like you could do the same thing if like, you know, you put me in a room with fucking Jeffrey Dahmer, you know?
Yeah.
Give us a couple beers. I'm sure we could find some common ground and be like, oh, hey, like we're buddies now.
We're both
But
Mets fans.
You know, yeah, I'm not going to fucking... No, like you have to have standards, man.
Yeah.
Like, nah, if George Bush was here, I'd spit in his
standards.
fucking face.
I've
Fuck
always
George
said,
Bush.
Yeah, I've always said like you have to have like logic standards. You know, like you have to be able to apply your rationale to multiple subjects to see.
No,
if
like
it's
I'm
good,
not
you know
gonna
what I'm
like
saying?
I'm not gonna attack George Bush on sight because one, I'd get fucking murked by the the Secret Service. But like,
you ever see those memes? That's like, imagine the universe where the shoe hit,
and it's just like futuristic and everything's great. No, you know, there's definitely a few pivotal moments that I think if they went the other way, like I think of Al Gore, because Al Gore won.
Yeah.
You know, and then he just like rolled over and let George Bush steal the election. I think Al Gore, I don't know if 9/11, I think 9/11 still would have happened under Al Gore, you know? There's definitely an argument to be made that it was just a complete botch of national security.
Yeah. I mean, they knew about the plot for a long time.
You know, but let's say it did happen. I don't think Al Gore would have gone into Iraq. He probably would have gone into Afghanistan still.
Let's talk about this for a little bit, and we'll make this the exclusive segment because I love alternate history takes.
Okay.
I think I would agree with you. I think he would still have gone to Afghanistan.
But I don't think he would have invaded Iraq. He wouldn't have the CEO of Halliburton as his fucking vice president.
Correct. And I think that if you didn't know this, they invaded Afghanistan. You probably knew this. To oust the Taliban, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the United States soldiers had Osama bin Laden cornered very fast? They had him cornered in a cave, and they were ordered to stand down and let him go.
I didn't know about that.
You didn't know that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll pull this up just to show. So there
was to keep this like nebulous war on terror going on forever. I'm not surprised by that. No,
I believe they never really.
You know, most of the
right here.
Most of the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia.
That is correct.
Yeah,
and they came via the Canadian border too.
Yeah, I wonder why we didn't invade Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. You know, weird how that happens.
Let's see here. Yeah, a few months after September 11th, Osama bin Laden was cornered in the mountains of Afghanistan, close to the Pakistani border. There was actually a joint operation of foreign special forces and our special forces.
Okay.
And the team called in airstrikes. You know, they bombed the mountain, and then apparently at some point in time, they called it in like, "Hey, he's in these caves. Like, we need to go in and get him." And then command told them to stand down. They said, "No, we're not going in there." And then that's how he escaped into Pakistan.
Yeah. Is there a conspiracy theory about like why that was?
I have never heard one publicly.
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
According to this guy, he says Tora Bora was a case of military incompetence. He was a CIA advisor to the White House at the time, and they had plenty of time and had plenty of information. This was not a matter of miscommunication. This was general officers deciding not to do it because they didn't think it was their mission.
What do you think would have happened if we had caught Osama bin Laden like right away?
Like right away?
Like if that had been a successful operation.
I feel like I don't see the thing about it, since we're playing in the realm of alternates.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to say, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like I'd want to say that we would have pulled out effectively almost immediately. Like, boom, we did what
that's
we
probably
did.
why we didn't get ordered to. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like what else could they have done? I guess my Afghanistan history isn't fairly well versed, but
Well, one thing you should know about Afghanistan, it's where empires go to die.
yeah.
It's where Alexander the Great was stopped.
Oh,
You know,
Soviet Union.
so the Union was stopped.
Stop there.
So who knows? Maybe we'll follow suit.
Well, maybe. Hard to say.
I don't know. I think we're witnessing the collapse of the U.S. empire.
I think it's easy to see. I still have hopes.
I don't know.
Collapse of the empire, maybe. Like, I guess I don't care if we lose our imperial colonies. Like,
Yeah.
I just want my country to be the country that I was told it was when I was
Well, we're
growing
in just
up.
such a weird, precarious situation because even if everything went right and we like completely turned this fucking ship around, especially in the subject of like climate change, we were able to have our own industrial revolution and just pollute to our heart's desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we decided to switch to 100% renewable right now, that's not going to stop like
Everybody else.
other industrial countries like India and China who are becoming industrialized, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a global effort to like give them technology to bring them
Right.
up to our speed, and I don't think we do that without any sort of profit motive, you know.
Right.
Because we're like,
the
we
thing is,
like we have the privilege of being like, yeah, we polluted all we wanted to our heart's content, and now you can't do what we did, you know.
Right.
It's like, well, what right do we have to tell another country like they don't get to like do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing?
So that's I mean, mine like if you took the profit motive out of it, then it'd be easy because then it'd be like, hey, we'll build your infrastructure
we'll build
for
like
you.
a clean.
Yeah. Which, from a worker perspective would benefit only U.S. workers because we would be the producer
Yeah.
and we'd be the exporter. But no, we don't want that. God forbid.
No.
So that's the one thing that always got me too when people are talking about like they never put two and two together. They always talk about like the trade disparity with China and the lack of jobs in the United States, but they never put together that these trade deals are what does that, and what, like this, like the inability to unionize and what have you.
Yeah, that we have these big trade giveaways.
Giveaway.
In these bad trade deals where we're like just outsourcing all of our manufacturing jobs.
Yeah. And it kind of hurts when you think about the world that could be.
Yeah. No, it's
Can't get lost in it though. You have to.
Well,
You have to
work.
keep your
You have
ideals.
to work toward it.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta do something, even if it's something as simple as like shouting into the fucking void and hoping that somebody listens.
I still said Cthulhu 2020. We still got till December.
Hell, who knows, man? Who knows? I guess they found some portal at the bottom of the ocean. I saw an article about that shit.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Isn't that how Pacific Rim starts?
Yeah. Fucking love that movie.
I have you seen the second one? I've only seen
I
the
haven't
first
seen
one.
the second one. I heard it was bad, and I didn't want to tarnish my my view on Pacific Rim.
I love me a good military inspiring speech in a movie.
Yeah. We are canceling the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, when we get back to it, are we talking Shahid Buttar?
Yeah. We'll start that up.
What are we
now.
doing?
That was a fun one. Yeah, we'll hit that Shahid.
Okay.
Shahud. Tabooty. Boom. Part 3.
Right, part 3. So, for those of you listening, you probably know that we were kind of standing for Shahid Buttar a little bit, in the hopes of ousting Nancy Pelosi. But did you hear about that?
I did. So there's been some turmoil in the campaign. Apparently, some female staffers have said that...
It wasn't female staffers, was it?
No,
it was
originally, wasn't it?
No, it was one woman who had lived with Shahid Buttar in a communal house. She's a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived together for like 8 years in a communal house. And she says that he propositioned her for sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. And so I'm seeing... Well, this comes into like... What do we do about that? Because like...
comedian, artist, filmmaker.
Say
That Butar harassed her. This is the San Francisco Chronicle, so take
Yes.
that for what you will. Stating that they both lived in D.C. in '03 and continued to do so.
Yeah.
We on
So
the left must hold ourselves to a higher standard as we are committed to creating a
but
just.
do you not see? Do you not see how easy it is to weaponize the left against itself?
Correct.
You know,
This-
and this is a messy game to play because it's like we obviously have to, take these accusations of sexual harassment seriously. But at the same time, it's like anybody can do that against anybody on the left and be like,
Do you think that?
but like,
Go ahead. And I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
this
gonna
is-
throw a question.
this
at you,
is-
Go ahead.
this is the strategy to take down actual leftists. Look what they did to Jeremy Corbyn. You're an anti-Semite, and boom,
That's it.
boom. Now it was something like 70% of the UK believed that he was an anti-Semite, and it worked. The
did it
only
to Bernie.
reason they couldn't do it to Bernie is because he was Jewish. That gave him a shield of being against or not being accused of
Right.
anti-Semitism. They still tried
They
it.
accused
They
him
still
of-
tried it.
of sexual harassment too.
But then they accuse Elizabeth Warren comes out and
Yeah.
accuses him of being a secret sexist.
Yeah.
And now
clear hit job.
Shai Buttar gets accused of being, a sexual harasser by a woman who has a record of falsifying sexual harassment claims.
You know what's really messed up
it's-
too about it?
Mhm.
I don't know, messed up. This is just like my initial reaction. So take all of what I'm about to say for what you will. Like
Yeah.
a lot of his, like the DSA is gonna unendorse him.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that's how easy it is because we have principles, because the left has principles, and so we're like, yeah, if and this shit doesn't work on Republicans,
No.
like Roy Moore came out as a fucking pedophile and it didn't do shit, because they don't have standards, they don't care.
You
But
misstated all of them come out as pedophiles.
all Republicans come out as pedophiles, and it doesn't do anything for them.
This is
Because
for-
they don't care. But a leftist, you can accuse them of some sort of bigotry, and left organizations will drop them because we have standards. But do you see how easy it is to weaponize that against ourselves? Because at the end of the day, Nancy Pelosi is going to be worse for the country than Shahid Buttar. If we're looking at it from a pure harm reduction perspective, if these allegations turn out to be true, he would still do less harm in office than Nancy Pelosi.
Is it-
At the end of the day, and also like not a good look to defend sexual harassment. But as far as sexual harassment goes, he asked her to have sex while they were living together.
See, that's the thing. I've always said,
Like he's not a predator is
No.
the point that I'm getting at.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm not saying that like it's okay. I'm saying that he's not like he didn't he didn't assault her.
See,
like
I've always
he-
wondered, like I've always grappled with this a little bit. Not grappled, but I've always I do thought problems in my head because I have nothing to do out on the open road but think to myself. And I've always kind of wondered. So this kind of ties into like cancel culture to a point. Sort of, but I do believe I think you should listen to every woman's story.
Yes.
But I also don't think that every case should be treated with a blanket result.
No, because
I think me and you have talked in the past about like Louis C.K.
Sure.
How, I mean, realistically,
Because I love Louis C.K. and
he's got some funny bits.
And
And this is in an article of separating the work from.
from the art from the artist.
This is the conversation that's going to sink my future political aspirations. So.
Yeah.
No, but my point here is realistically, what Louis did was there
wasn't
a
cool.
patriarchal power structure incentive that allowed him to
it wasn't
to
cool.
do what he did.
Like it certainly wasn't good. But he got lumped in the height of Me Too
At
with
the same time,
with actual predators.
And this is something else.
And,
We'll bring this back up because everybody forgot about this too. So give me 1 second. Let me finish this point
Sure.
here. But then at what point do you take what bit as important? Like Louis said, yeah, it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he also said hey, I did ask, and they said it was okay. Then at what point
Yeah.
do you make that judgment of whether or not it was is it weird? Sure.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to make a judgment on this one because like I don't know if that's all she's saying, and like from what you're saying, I'm like, you know, did he ask or did he say like, hey, if we're living together, like you owe me? Like
no. Apparently he propositioned her for sex. She said no, and then she said that he had done it multiple times throughout the years that they were living together. Like he had kept bringing it up that they should sleep together.
Let's see here.
You know,
this is 48 Hills.
But you know, I wholeheartedly believe that if like AOC was a man, that this shit would have came up. Someone would have accused her of the same shit.
See, I do hold,
because do you not think that like Nancy Pelosi has got the money to create a hit piece against Shai Buttar?
Honestly, one of the first things I thought when I seen, because we must have caught different bits. I did catch a little bit of this one, but I also saw there's like a workplace situation going on too, where like several staffers claimed like as a hostile work environment and stuff, and like 4 or 5 people quit at the same time.
I hadn't heard that.
Okay, well I heard that one too. That's what I thought you were talking about. This one is kind of new to me, so I'm responding as I learn information. Let's see here. This must be what you read here. Once again.
Oh, and he made like a bad joke at a dinner party or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm just. I think I'm re-hitting that part here.
Yeah. Like she had talked about how she was celibate for a couple years, and he's like, "Wow, you hadn't been fucked in 2 years or something like that," which is like douchebag thing to say for sure.
Total Chad move.
That's a real scummy thing to say, but like. You know, I don't know. This idea that we have to like unendorse him now immediately when it's like we're this close to ousting, you know, Nancy Pelosi, and yet like we trip it up at the finish line because these 20-year-old accusations come out against him that he like asked a woman he was living with to have sex with him. And it's like it's not a good look to defend this.
But then, are any of these people the same people who are calling out like Donald Trump and Joe Biden for their long history? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that's the kind of thing. Like, if you're not showing a consistency, it makes me hard to want to like I want to support you for sure. But like, it's like, who's the actress in the Joe Biden thing?
Alyssa Milano.
Yeah. Like when they hit her, they're like, "What do you think about this and all this and this and this?"
Oh,
and
like she's like, "Believe women, believe women."
Yeah,
and
I'm
then,
not the.
You know, Tara Reid comes out with the Joe Biden accusation, and then she's just dead silent on it. I'm
gonna have my wife make me a statement, because obviously people be like, "Why are 2 men commenting on this?" No,
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying though. Why is
but
it?
It's like, but this is just such a Achilles heel to any leftist. It's the same shit that they did to Cenk Uygur.
Yep.
You know, they pull it out like, oh, he's a sexist, so the left has to unendorse him now. You know, and they're going to do it to you have to get somebody who's bulletproof. You have to get a Jewish woman to run for every office, because if she's not Jewish, she's an anti-Semite, and if she's not a woman, she's a sexist. Like, you have to, like, it's so easy to like weaponize the left against itself, you know, because at the end of the day, Shai Buttar is going to be infinitely better than Nancy Pelosi, and yet like, you know,
you're gonna take him down.
You're gonna take him down over this.
Over some what kind of amounts to bad jokes. And there could be more there.
Yeah, and if I find out more about Shai Buttar, I'll look into it. I might, you know, shift my position that he is like irredeemable. But
this is what leftists do. This is, I think, what separates leftists from liberals. Like, I think when you say like people on the left, like that's what you're talking about, like the divide between leftists and liberals, right?
Sure.
Close
enough. Well, I don't know what you're.
Well, like what I'm saying
in what
is
example?
Like, because there's already like this. The point I'm trying to make here, like there's already this like such strict divide between leftists and the middle liberal of the Democratic Party that they already hate us for challenging everything that they have come to believe is true. Because in that regard, the middle liberal is almost the same as your standard Trump voter. Like they don't.
They're different on aesthetics. What their biggest issue with Donald Trump is that he's rude.
Right.
It's not the war crimes. It's not the locking kids up. It's
Right.
that he's like he tweets.
Yeah.
He tweets mean things.
That's why, that's what I was
know?
getting at. That's why they don't care that Joe Biden has a very similar history over 40 years. Like,
Yeah, because Joe Biden is professional. He's a respectable guy. He's not a fucking Cheeto.
yeah.
He's not a Cheeto with weird hair.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you're talking about weaponizing the left, and it's easy for outside instigators to do so as well. Because the centers, people like you and me, who I consider, you're probably more left than I am. I consider myself, I guess, like an entry-level leftist.
Sure. I've been able to suss out that you're probably more like a social democrat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Scandinavian model.
Yeah, probably.
Not like an actual full-blown like socialist. I wouldn't imagine.
Not yet.
Not yet.
As things go on, I believe in doing what I think is right for the country at
Yeah.
any given time.
Yeah.
So, like, if there were a situation that would arise where full-blown anarchy is the answer, that's what I would believe. But I'd have to have the data to support it. You know what I mean?
And I don't disagree that if we move towards more of a Scandinavian model, I could be absolutely for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's better.
Progress
It's
is progress.
It's just better. And then from there, then we see where we need to go. Like, do we
Yeah.
hold position? Do we need, and that's why I always bring up the question. It's like, what is a good conservative idea? Like, when would their ideas ever work? And there are none.
Never, ever.
And there are none. It's opposition for opposition's sake. But it's kind of the same thing. It's that, to me, it's that critical thinking portion that is never applied to politics. It's like, what is the most important thing you can do? Like, so I guess what you asked me earlier, what can you do right now is like, what is needed right now? And that's the way I see it. Anyways, What was the point I was making earlier?
Something about the divide between leftists and liberals.
Yeah, because I've always kind of thought, like, people like you and I, who are more left than your standard Democrat, we look at everything. Because we've talked about, like, even like in the police thing, like, nobody is ever going to say, like, if a guy shoots at a cop, hits him 3 times, and then the cop shoots the other guy, like, nobody's ever going to say that's excessive force. Like, we look at every case individually, whereas to me it always felt like people more in the liberal wing, the center, I guess from the middle of the party to the right up to the centrists, are real quick to say anybody that does this is automatically canned. Like,
yeah, well, that's the vote blue no matter who crowd.
Yeah.
Like, that's why this shit will not work against them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have Amy McGrath out there who's, like, described herself as a Trump-friendly Democrat, and yet, like, she ended up winning,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why the left is always going to be at a disadvantage because we actually have principles, And that's why, and liberals have a little bit of principle. Republicans have no principles. They are completely prone to groupthink, no matter what. If they have a candidate, someone comes out like Donald Trump, they will nothing he can say will disqualify him.
Correct. In their mind.
Republicans will fall in line because he's got an R next to his name, and white supremacists will come out of the woodworks to vote for him because he aligns with their point of view. They don't turn anyone away,
Mm-hmm.
Like a boomer dad who just wants to grill, but has voted Republican his whole life, he'll hop in. And then if a member of the KKK hops in, hey, come over here, we got you.
They put them on equal footing.
Hey, get over here. Like, we're both gonna vote Republican. And then fucking neo-Nazi will show up, and they're like, yeah, get in here, man, come on. And then a libertarian will show up, and they're like, get over here. Like, let's keep doing this. Let's own the libs together. And it's like, but a leftist will be like, oh yeah, I agree with this candidate for 90% of what he says, and then someone will come out and be like, hey, did you know he's anti-Semitic? And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm not supporting him anymore. Because that's my position. If something had come out against Bernie Sanders, if Bernie Sanders had turned out to be like a shit person, like if he had turned out to be a rapist or something, I'd be done with him.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, that's okay, well, sorry, Bernie, like, you're done. And that's why that they will always use this against us. They will always use our purity tests against us.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, Shai Buttar is going to be better than Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Like he will 100% be better than Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. This real quick. This was the article that I had read. This is what I had
Okay.
initially thought you were talking about. But
Okay,
this
yeah,
is just
let
a
me know.
little excerpt. In interviews with The Intercept, 7 former staffers and contractors on Buter's campaign described a pattern of public berating and insult towards staff, regardless of gender, but particularly toward women on the campaign. They said Butar was a tough boss, but his treatment of staff has crossed the line.
Huh.
That's what I thought you were referencing, because I knew they went into forced arbitration with a few of these guys.
Okay.
A few of the, and I shouldn't say guys. That's did I just assume? It's like I think it's 5 women and 2 men, but like a lot of his like high level staff have left the campaign because of this, I guess.
Look up if they have gotten jobs on Nancy Pelosi's campaign, because.
Well, let's find out.
But here's the thing.
What did all the former Bernie staffers get jobs in Biden's campaign?
But look at Amy Klobuchar had pretty similar accusations that never made it to light. She had assaulted her staffers. Like she chucked a comb at one of them's face and stuff. Like apparently she was really fucking tough to work with.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And yet like that didn't seem to come up at all, did it?
No, she was the fucking poster child for a very solid second there.
Yeah.
God damn it, these fucking paywalls. I need to get that app that lets you bypass it. We'll go to BuzzFeed. They're actually a legitimate news source. Isn't that something that in just 15 years, BuzzFeed has become one of the most?
Are they? I don't
Yeah,
know.
they have like legitimately good journalists that work for them now. They went from clickbait internet articles to like a legitimate thing.
It sucks though, because once you've built a name for yourself, because now if I was in a discussion with somebody and was like, I get my news from BuzzFeed, they'd be like, this is fucking jokes.
See, the thing about it too, this is maybe this is where we need to take some. When it's somebody like Shahid, who I still want to believe is better for the party, maybe that's where we need to take some lessons from the Republicans and just be like, yeah, I was kind of a dick, and then sorry,
and just be like, yeah, whatever, I'm still supporting him.
You know, I tell people, I'm like, I used to say fucking outrageous shit all the time, mostly to get a rise out of people, but
but it's the same thing with like Cenk Uygur. I and Cenk's got some pretty bad centrist takes sometimes. But he definitely would have been a powerhouse in Congress to have,
See, he's one of the people that I put him and Shahid in the same boat, I guess. Like people who will openly challenge the establishment on the floor. Something
I have massive disagreements with Cenk. But at the end of the day, like I know that he is not a corporate sellout who is doing what his handlers want him to do.
Do you think Schenck would have won his primary if Bernie had not rescinded his endorsement? You don't think he'd have won it? No,
because they put him on like the second page of the voting. Like, as much as I don't want to admit it, like I think people are dumb enough to be too lazy to hit like next page.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely, their positioning on that. Like, I think even if it's only like a 5 to 10% like difference, that matters, Mm-hmm. No, I don't think Bernie's unendorsement of Cenk is what hurt him. I think everybody working against Cenk is what hurt him. But like you watch his debates though, like he's getting cheers from the crowds and all this stuff. Why is he on the fucking second whatever?
Yeah, irrelevant. Just he was a Republican before 2000. Look at that.
Hey, someone's in the chat.
Beautiful.
Hello, how are you?
We can spend this last
How
bit.
are you? How are you, Gamer King?
Welcome. Let's see here. Yeah, that's what I want most, is just people who are openly willing to challenge the establishment, which is why I like people like Bernie and AOC. Like, I love them, but like, come on, guys, you got to step up just a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's just like, where was like Bernie's statement with Medicare for All? Wasn't the whole reason like he was collecting delegates was to make sure that it made it into the party platform?
Yeah,
like,
how much can we put on Bernie's shoulders, bro?
None, not much, but like they're just as an active senator, there's things that he can do. Like, this is one thing I do appreciate about like Jimmy Dore. I know you're not super into him, but he does do some of the more hot takes sometimes where he'll like dive into like like if Bernie stands up for these things, like where's his statement? Like he calls them out and be like, he's one of the more guys because like any of these like progressives in the Congress, he's always like none of them are real progressives.
Yeah,
because they don't.
But you know what? I'll go so far as to say that I think Bernie Sanders is the most important political figure of like the last 20 years.
I'd say, yeah.
I'd
say 30. I'd go back to 91 when he got into Congress and gave the empty hall speech
against going to Desert Storm.
Yeah.
No, but like that stuff went under the radar because there was no internet back then.
Internet, no.
But just his invigoration of the left in modern days, I think he deserves as much credit as he can get for that. So
he lit the fire.
Yeah, and we were always going to outgrow Bernie.
More often than not, real quick, we'll go back to kind of what we were chit-chatting about here. Do you think we ever outgrow like our litmus tests? Litmus tests of purity.
It might be litmus.
One Stella is all it takes to throw my grammar out the window. Litmus test, yeah. Test for acidity or alkalinity.
Okay, but what was your question?
Do you think the left or leftists, not necessarily liberals, but just leftists in general, do you think they outgrow the litmus test? Like, do you think eventually they reach a point where, because I would say arguably in U.S. history, this is like the first time in U.S. history where leftism has really taken a foothold in popular politics. Do you think they ever grow past that? Similar, not necessarily similar, but in a similar vein to what the Republican Party has done with it?
No, and I don't think we should.
Okay. That was going to be my next question.
I think that we got to pick our battles. I think that Shai Buttar is so much better than Nancy Pelosi, and his accusations are so mild that I think you have to measure it as to like.
I was going to say the same thing. That's why I was getting at earlier how I was like, blanket statements don't.
Yeah, if it had come out that he was like actually like a predator, then it'd be like, okay, he's done for sure. But it's like, let's say, someone was running against like George Bush, and it had come out that he like one time he wrote a blog that was like, women just aren't as good at working as men, and that's why they get paid less or something sexist like that. I'd still be like, that's still better than George Bush. Like you have to look at things on an individual case by case basis. Right. You don't go like, oh, because he said that, like I'm done with him.
He made a bad joke in a bar in 1994,
and it's like, oh, I'm done with him. I guess this war criminal is going to be president now. Like, you got to pick your battles. Do you want to go into the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a very bold statement. I'll own it. You could make the case, like, it just depends on like what metrics you're going for, and like I guess like to kind of explain that statement a little bit, it's kind of
for the audio listeners, someone in the chat said that was a bold statement to say that Bernie Sanders was the most important political figure since '91, which I think might actually be. Bernie Sanders was a benched player for a lot of his career.
Yeah,
like, let's be honest.
I guess in terms of like setting the foundations for like the growth of leftist politics in the United States.
But that's why I give him the last 10 years, 20 years, in that like his what he does like at a congressman level is important, but setting like the national narrative of these leftist policies. Look at 2016 and look at 2020, and look at how the discourse has changed within just those 4 years because of the things that Bernie Sanders was talking about. Medicare for all was not like a thing that people were saying. Right. I think people were even talking about before Bernie Sanders made it part of his 2016 campaign. Then you get to 2020, and every single Democrat during the primaries is discussing the merits of Medicare for all.
Yeah.
He changed the national discourse on that level. Do I think he's the best politician since '91? I think I don't think that's controversial to say. I don't think he's the most transformative figure since '91. I think he's the most transformative figure within the last 10 years.
Okay, I will agree with what he just said. I will concede that it is a little bit of a stretch. That's just my
Yeah,
hopeful
no.
naivete.
He's the best congressman who's been in office this long. I think if you look at his record.
I will say this though, in terms of like what national level politics does to good wine-minded people, the ability for Bernie Sanders to have kept
his integrity, for this long,
for the entirety of his career, effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to say something.
Yeah, I don't think. But then who would be the most transformative figure within the last? I think there's definitely an argument that Obama was.
This is where you get into a very metrics driven. Like it's like, by what metric do you measure transformatization? You know what I mean? And how far back do you want to go?
Do you think Obama actually kind of hurt the left in a lot of ways, though? Because he had inspired so many people with his hope and change thing, and then ended up governing. Self-described. Obama said, "I will govern as a moderate Republican."
Yeah.
Yeah, he ran as like this transformative figure who ended up,
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. No. The guy in the chat said probably Mitch McConnell. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell has done, as far as like, has done the most, like,
he was
had the most consequences, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
But was the most consequential politician.
Well, probably, because there are videos all the way back to like the 80s
probably
with Ronald
George
Reagan,
Bush.
where he's trying to outright Ronald Reagan on a lot of issues.
Who, Mitch McConnell?
Yeah.
I'd say probably George Bush, though. Like, let's be honest, the Iraq War is the biggest humanitarian disaster of the 21st century. Like, he led to 1 million deaths.
Yes. We actually talked about that earlier. Chat says
Bush
was Cheney.
Bush
we
was
actually
Cheney.
talked about
We
that
discussed
earlier.
that. He was
we were talking about
Cheney was the mastermind behind the whole thing. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing about Donald Trump, is why I don't think he's as bad as George Bush. He doesn't have an Emperor Palpatine behind him. Donald Trump very much wants to be the mastermind, but he's too stupid to do it.
He can't.
But he will not let anyone else do it.
Yeah.
Like,
he wants to be in control, but it's just so
so you have
See, this is where like in terms of like the United States, Donald Trump may be the most transformative figure.
No. Yeah.
Sort of. In the way that he
that he was just real masked off
in
with the Republican Party.
Yeah, in the same way that like Eisenhower legitimized the religious right and gave them a platform to bestow their platform across the country, in the same way that Donald Trump has legitimized the racist. And
the thing that Donald Trump has transformed is that it was a real fucking mask off for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Like, the Republican Party had this veneer of like, we're, the right has a strong intellectual history, and we're, we're fiscal conservatives, and we believe in like the numbers, we're rational, and facts don't care about your feelings. And Donald Trump came in and was like, nah, dude, I'm just a dumbass. Like, I'm just dumb. I'm dumb. I'm evil.
I stand for nothing other than personal gain. Like, I have no principles nor platform.
Yeah. So, I mean,
ooh, man, we should do a whole episode dedicated
on like who was the most transformative figure.
Yeah, and then by what metrics do we decide that?
I think that George Bush has been the most damaging.
We'll get some guests on for this one. I'm gonna make a note of that real quick. Not to break the flow of the thing here. Sorry.
Nah, no worries. But yeah, no. George, I mean, you're looking at people who are, are fighting in a war that started before they were born.
Do you take the outside approach and say maybe Al Gore was the most transformative figure by conceding the damn election?
Yeah, but then that's more of just like, he was transformed, like. But that's like being like George Bush's mom was the most transformative figure because she gave birth to George Bush.
Turtles all the way down. It's all
so
turtles.
It's like, no, I think is this what we're gonna call it?
So yeah, we'll end the audio one here, but
okay. Yeah, we'll stick in the chat if anyone wants to talk about it.
We'll hang around for a little bit longer.
But
so if anybody listening in the chat, we actually do audio versions of these, and this is where we'll end this one here. But for audio listeners, you can continue it on YouTube and hear the rest of what we're about to talk about. See ya.
Bye.
I hate the way that works, but
Yeah,
it's
how
because I don't.
It's like, oh no, it's about to end.
It's because I don't manage the timer. I just let it play, and then after like 40 sentences, I'm like, oh crap, we're on a time limit. So yeah, any listeners here or chatters, we actually release 30-minute segments of this as a audio podcast under the same name, Sour Source, available on most major podcast platforms. Yeah. So, subscribe to that, give us a download and a play. Helps us out a lot. We're trying to get this thing off the ground. But, yeah, what else could be? Who else could be?
In the running?
Yeah. Could argue Pelosi, in a way, by enabling every terrible thing that's happened in the past 20 years.
Rona.
It's kind of the same.
Rona.
It's kind of the same thing. I'm just gonna put this up.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's an argument to be made that it's any president.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's
just
because
they're on the national stage.
Is the leader of the free world, so every decision that comes out has ramifications.
Osama bin Laden. It's the most important political figure.
There could be an argument to be made there. Obviously,
I mean, it goes back to the '80s though, bro. When he was a honorary CIA operative,
they funded the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
There's an argument to be made there for sure.
There is an argument because then obviously they bombed the USS Cole in the late '90s. Was the first Trade Center bombing? Was that?
I don't think so.
That
no.
wasn't related, right?
No,
I didn't think so.
I don't even think it was a Muslim, was it?
No, I don't think it was.
It was like a disgruntled
employee. I think a post office worker, maybe.
Was it?
Ooh, World Trade Center. I shouldn't be searching this stuff on my laptop. I'm gonna get flagged.
Don't worry, you're using my internet, so I'll get flagged.
93. There we go. The attack was planned by a group of terrorists, including Ramzi Youssef, Mahmoud Abu Khalima, and Mohammed Salameh. Yeah, but was it a Al-Qaeda training camp?
Okay. So I guess it was Al-Qaeda.
Interesting. I did not know that. Is it really? Huh. The more you know. Because it
didn't go off, though, did
it? The bomb went off, but they only destroyed the parking garage. It didn't bring nothing.
Yeah. Did you hear about this? There's a cult leader in Japan. Do you know about this?
I feel like I do.
Who did poison gas attacks? I forget his name. Oh
yeah, they did a dirty bomb in the subway.
Yeah. But they had 9 more bombs that all by just sheer luck had a faulty detonation mechanism in them, and they said that if they had all gone off, it would have killed 500,000 people, if all of them had gone off the way they were supposed to.
I believe that.
Yeah, which leads me to believe that it was somebody intentionally sabotaging them.
Shinri Kyo.
Yeah.
I listened, so this is not too dissimilar. This isn't really terrorist X, but I listened to a podcast the other day. It was on Harris's podcast, Sam Harris, which I haven't listened to regularly in a while, but this one caught my eye because he was talking to a former national dude of whatever in the military who was in charge of managing some of the nuclear arsenal. And they were talking about all the false flags that have popped up in multiple countries that could have led us to nuclear war and how easy it was.
Yeah.
And then if there hadn't been a lot of people saying no, I don't think this is legit.
I know there was one time that happened with Cuba. I don't know if it was a nuclear bomb, was it? But we were it was literally came down to one naval officer who was I'm not gonna.
That wasn't the missile crisis, right?
I don't think it was the missile crisis. It was a separate.
There's been a couple. There was one too where the guy had all kinds of warning signs that missiles were incoming up in Minnesota or something like that, NORAD, wherever it's headquartered. Yeah. And he's like, this can't be right. And then he called the developer of the software, and he's like, hey, help me fix your program. Mm-hmm. They talked about that one too on there, and then the guy walked him through how to reboot, and then when they did, there was nothing on radar.
Yeah, dude. Do you remember? I think it was one of those shitty centrist candidates. It was like one of like Michael, whatever the fuck, in the Dem primaries, who like he attacked Elizabeth Warren because she said she would never do a preemptive nuclear strike, and he was like, "Well, we can't just rule that out." It's like, are you kidding me?
that was like what they actually. This is what
was
they.
his, what was his name?
I don't remember. It wasn't Castro, was it? No.
No. It wasn't Julian Castro. I like Julian Castro. I don't like him, but
yeah.
I like him like better than a lot of them.
Nuclear.
No, Julian Castro ended up kind of competing for Elizabeth Warren's VP spot. Yeah. No, it wasn't him. It was like Michael Bowman.
Democratic primary.
Michael Bolton.
Mike Bloomberg?
No, it wasn't Bloomberg.
Bullock.
Bullock. That was it. It was Bullock.
So they actually talked about this in that podcast too, where they're like, if you want the world to kind of move towards, is it proliferation, where they get rid of it? Disarmament. Okay, we'll use that word. Disarmament. Like, one of the things the U.S. should do is actually do away with the first strike policy.
Yes.
Strike? Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, there's something you learn in fucking 7th grade civics class, which is like mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
That maybe
Like,
if we live in a world where we have enough nuclear weapons to destroy the world like 30 times over, maybe it's not a good idea to like shoot one off.
Yeah, to be the first one. Yeah, that one was a really cool one. I actually really enjoyed that podcast a lot because they talked about that, and like they were talking about like how just recently they passed like the Nuclear Updated Act or something where they're upgrading the arsenal.
That's cool.
Yeah, super cool, right?
Yeah.
And that was just recently.
Yeah, that's cool that we, live in a world that's like.
I also read this. I'm not advocating for this at all, so I'm going to throw this disclaimer out. I also listened to one guy. He gave as a lecture on how like he basically made the argument like the inverse. Instead of trying to do away with all of them, like we should give every country a nuclear bomb.
That's sort of like
normalize it.
That's sort of like if everyone has a gun, then we're safer kind of thing.
It's Texas on the global scale.
But it's like I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I agree with it, but it's an interesting take. Get your reaction on.
I think ideally we would all do away with our nuclear weapons, but I don't know how likely that is. I think giving everyone a nuclear weapon is the more likely, like the easier thing to get done. Because like, good luck convincing all these countries to disarm themselves. But like, give everybody a nuclear weapon. Hey, Morocco, here's a fucking nuke.
Yeah, this was like, oh man, it might have been sooner than what I thought it was. Maybe like a month ago they signed the bill to update it. Interesting. Yeah, it's
Right.
Yeah, nuclear bombs are rough.
Yeah. Well, chat got quiet if you're ready to call it.
It did. We can go ahead and end here. Appreciate the follows, guys. If, like I said, you can subscribe. We're also on YouTube. You can rewatch the old streams on YouTube. Check out the audio version. Catch the bits you didn't catch. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and several others that I couldn't tell you the name of off the top of my head. Even SoundCloud, if that's what you're into. So have at that.
Yeah.
You got anything over there?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Sometimes yours updates, but mine doesn't.
Nope.
Even though I'm in control of the thing. So yeah, if you guys, we usually do these lately we've been doing them on Sundays. Today we're on an off day because I had a prior engagement yesterday. So if you like it, check us out. We're usually on Sundays in the evenings. Do a couple hours worth or hour and a half or so. Just talk about, what's going on in the world from a leftist perspective, and we attack everybody.
Yeah. Because there's nobody who represents us. So everyone's kind of fair game.
We're actually in the best position because we can attack everybody and get away with it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like we're kind of like the cool kids who are just like everybody sucks.
I'm gonna come next week in full goth, like.
Yeah, it's like, or not even the cool kids, I guess, because we're the guys who make fun of the cool kids.
Yeah, it's
like
true.
we bully the nerds but we also like make fun of the cool kids because we're just like the outcasts.
Yeah, when
We just don't have, like,
we
a
bully
social
the
clique.
nerds, and when the jocks try to join in, we're like, hold on,
You're like, hey, fuck you, you fucking-
yeah, you're not free from this spanking. All right,
Or we don't bully the jocks in their face because they can beat us up, but we go in a corner and we're just like, dude, that guy's a fucking asshole.
we'll sure talk
Fuck
shit
that guy.
behind you.
Why don't you go say that to his face? Because I'm saying it to you, man. Fuck that guy.
'Cause I want you to go say it to him for me.
But yeah, all right. Well, thanks for
All
everyone
right,
for
yeah,
joining
thanks for
in.
listening in on us. It's getting a little late for us, so we got to get going.